Hello, my crafty friends. Well, today we are going to play around with a fun embossing technique, and it is super simple to do. Plus, I have two different ways you can use it in your card making. Hi, it's Lynn Dunn from Stamptastic Designs. Thanks so much for joining me today. In this episode of Stamptastic TV, we are going to talk about the black ice technique. Now, this particular technique gives a really fun look to your gold or silver foil. So I'm going to show you how to do this on the two different types of foil. So I will be using some of the new brushed silver and gold foil from Stampin Up. Now, this technique works on other foil as well, but it's so much easier on a foil that has texture already. Now, the cards in this video feature some of the images from the Peaceful Evergreens stamp set from Stampin Up. And I will also be featuring some images from the Shepherd's Care stamp set. However, keep in mind you can use any stamp set or supplies that you have on hand. Now, for this particular technique, you will need some Stays-On ink. So this ink is a permanent ink, and this is the ink that we need to be using for this particular technique. And we are going to be doing some heat embossing, so you will need some Versamark, and you will need some clear embossing powder. All right, so let me show you how to do this fun technique. Okay, so the first way that you can use this technique is to use it on some silver foil. Now, you can use any kind of silver foil that you want to, but I'm going to be using some of Stampin' Up's new foil. So this particular foil already has a texture in it. So I'll just kind of turn it a little bit so you can see it. But it has already these textured lines in it. And that makes it super simple to complete this technique. So the first thing you want to do is cut the piece of foil to the size that you want for your card. So for this particular card, this piece of foil is 3 3/4 by 5 inches. But you can use any size foil for this technique. So what I want to do is I want to add just a little bit of tape to the back, and I want to tape my foil down to just a piece of scrap paper. And then I'm going to take my Stays-On ink, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this upside down, and we're going to run this across our foil. So it's going to give that black streak in the background. So the cool thing about this particular foil is that it already has the streaks in it, so it makes this technique so simple. Now you can add as much or as little as you want. I just added quite a bit. And I'm going to just flip this around, and I'm just going to kind of darken up the edges a little bit. Let's go back. And we'll darken this up. So once you have that added to your foil, then you're going to take your image and you're going to stamp it in black as well. So I'm just going to ink this up with some Stays-On. So this is the shepherd image. And we'll just stamp this over on the left side. So it gives a really cool look. And then we'll take the star and we'll ink this up as well. And we'll just stamp that up on the top. So now what you want to do is you want to dry this, because you don't want to do the next part of this technique on here without drying it. So I'm just going to use my heat tool and just dry the ink. All right, once the ink is dry, then you can go ahead and take your Versamark, and we're going to do the same thing. So this Versamark is just a substance that we use for heat embossing. So once we get done streaking the Versamark across here, we are going to add some embossing powder. So you can start on any side, and you basically just want to drag it along. And you don't have to apply a lot of pressure. You can just drag it along this image. So let's take this off of here. Remember, I have this taped down. So once you have applied the Versamark, you're now ready to add the embossing powder. So we're going to be using some clear embossing powder. And so this is where the magic happens. So we're going to add our embossing powder all over this. And you'll see it gives it a dull look. But don't worry, it won't look like that for long. All right, so now that we have our embossing powder on there, we can go ahead and set this. So I'll try to hold this so that you can see how this looks. So I'm just going to stop for a second so that you can see the difference between the two sides. So this side I've heat embossed, and you can see, hopefully that you can see, it just looks a lot shinier, and it brings out that black ice effect, kind of gives it the look of black ice. And so now I'm going to finish heat embossing this top part so that the whole thing looks uniform. All right, so that is what the finished design looks like. And it's obviously going to be much prettier in person than it probably is on video, but it just gives it such a cool look. You have the black streaks in the background, and then you have that embossing to just bring out the shine. So it really does look like black ice. Okay, so this is what the finished card looks like. So I just added a little black cardstock piece behind my silver foil just to kind of, you know, accent the black streaks that are in the foil. So that is one card idea. And then I just cut a smaller piece of foil, and this time I used the tree images on here, and just look how cool that looks. The background is simply just basic gray, and then the basic black, of course, with the silver foil. So just so pretty. So here is just another layout idea. This time I added a little bit of white embossed cardstock kind of behind it just to pull that out a little bit more. So super fun, very simple to do, and it just creates some gorgeous cards. Okay, so the second way that you can use this black ice technique is to use it actually with some gold foil paper. So the look is completely different from the black ice on the silver paper. Okay, so the process for this is basically the same. So one of the things I want to mention to you is when you're using this brushed foil, make sure that your brushed marks are going in the direction that you plan to do the streaking with the black ink. So you don't want to go against the grain, you want to go with the grain. So this is just a 3.5 by 3.5 inch piece of the gold foil, and I just put a little tape behind here to hold it in place. And again, we're going to do the same thing with our stays on. We're just going to streak this. And we'll add a little bit more to the top. And I like to just flip my paper around since I have this foil piece taped. And we'll just add a little bit more to the edges. So now this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some of the tree images from that Peaceful Evergreens stamp set. So we'll just ink them up with that stays on, that black stays on. And we'll stamp that on there. And then I'm just going to take a smaller tree image and ink this one up. And we'll just stamp that next to it. So again, let's dry this ink. All right, once the ink is dry, you can go ahead and take your Versamark and just kind of streak it down. And then let's peel this off. And we are ready to add our clear embossing powder. So you might be able to see this a little better on this gold foil than you could on the silver, at least see it better in the video. So now that we have our embossing powder added, we can go ahead and heat this up. So I'm just going to bring this a little bit closer so that you can see the difference between the two sides. So this side has been heat embossed already, and the other side has not. So you can see this side is duller than this side. So let's go ahead and finish this. All right, so that is what it looks like on the gold foil. And then here's what the finished card looks like. So I actually just added some of the Season of Elegance Designer Series paper behind here. And that particular paper is gold, and then it has the basic beige in there. So that's what the background is, basic beige. So it just gives it a really beautiful and elegant look. So that's the first card. And then here is just another card that I created with some smaller trees. And then here is the card with the Shepherd's Care stamp set. So just lots of different fun ways that you can use this black ice technique in your card making. Okay, so there you go. Now you have 6 different card ideas and just 2 different ways that you can use the black ice technique in your card making. And if you enjoyed these card ideas, feel free to download the printable tutorial. You can find the link in the description below this video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know by liking it and sharing it with your friends. And leave me a comment below to let me know what you enjoyed most about the video and the cards shared here today. Have a fun and creative day, my friends. Take care.